And he's fighting from behind in these last 8 weeks of the campaign. Any party you want to be back in the fray?
Look, I love the president, and I love getting to be part of what he's doing from this side. I think you say he's fighting from behind, but I think he's been fighting since the day he first ran for office back before 2016. This is a person who has had to fight for every single step, every single moment since he started his career in politics, and I think that's what he does best. I think that's why he won in 2016. I think that's why he'll win again in 2020.
Let's talk about that Atlantic article causing such an uproar. You said you didn't hear the president make those disparaging remarks about the military, but how do you explain why General John Kelly, who was the president's chief of staff at the time, hasn't come forward to deny the allegations? His silence is pretty deafening.
That's a question you'd have to ask General Kelly. What I can tell you, I was there that day. I was part of those conversations, and those things didn't happen. But not only, George, was I there that day, but I spent more time with the president over 2.5 years than just about anybody outside of his family. And I saw a president who loves this country, who loves the men and women of our armed forces. I sat with him in the Oval Office as he had to make that awful call to let a parent know that their son had been killed in Afghanistan. At no time other than that moment have I seen the president show his heart more, show his vulnerability more than in that time. That's because he understands the sacrifice those people are making. Nothing could be further from the truth than the fact that this is a president who loves our country and loves and respects the men and women who fight for it and protect it and allow the rest of us to live in it.
Sarah, you just said something there I want to clarify. You said you were with the president when he called a family to notify them that their son had been killed in Afghanistan. I thought it was a military protocol that it was always the military that went in person to see the parents. Are you talking about a condolence call?
Yes, correct. A condolence call after that individual had been notified.
Yeah, your book comes out the same day as Michael Cohen. Of course, he's the president's former lawyer. Comes out with a very different book, blasting the president, calling him a racist, a liar, saying he's willing to manipulate the ballots in order to win the election. It follows the books of John Bolton, the national security advisor, who called him a danger to the republic. Comments from James Mattis, the former Pentagon secretary, Rex Tillerson, the former secretary of state, have all been highly critical. How do you explain why they have such a different take on the president from the take you have?
Well, I think it's really simple. I think mine is actually the honest account. You're looking at people who have left as disgruntled employees, people who tried to push their own agenda. Let's remember, only 2 people were elected in November of 2016, George. I'm sorry, but let's not forget whose agenda was selected by the American people. Over 63 million people came out and overwhelmingly put their stamp down that they wanted Donald Trump to be their president. Not John Bolton, not Rex Tillerson, not James Mattis. They wanted Donald Trump, and they wanted his agenda. And these are individuals who had a very different agenda than
why did the president pick them?
And you're going to have friction when those moments happen. And they have to remember that Donald Trump is the only one that was president, and it was his agenda that was meant to be carried out.
They were chosen by the president for those jobs.
And certainly having a difference of opinion is not a bad thing. And I think that's one of the reasons the president has been successful. He's willing to listen to those people. But at the end of the day, it's his decision to make. And I think he's done a fantastic job doing that, moving our country forward and delivering on the promises that he said. I think my story is very candid, very authentic, and shows you a different side of the president that you're not going to see on the news media, and certainly not from some people that left not necessarily all on their own terms.
You were also the first press secretary who was a mom while press secretary. That was a real balancing act for you. What did you learn from the experience?
I learned a lot. I think being a mom probably helped prepare me to be press secretary. I've often said that I learned how to say no an awful lot as a mom. And again, in the press briefing room, I learned that I had to be very